Hey folks, welcome back to Biomassed. This is Pokey Draven. I am here in Iceland with Livvy for EVE Fanfest 2018. So this is our second day here, and today was the day for Project Nova. So CCP Hilmar got up on stage for the opening ceremony, and that's kind of what we suspected would be the time that this would happen. So he gets up there, he talks about, kind of what they're working on, talking about the VR games, and then he says, hey, but we want to talk about Project Nova. So I was expecting not much, probably a little bit more than what we got at EVE Vegas last year, but it was quite a bit more than that, and actually some pretty dense information if you kind of look at what he showed off. So he went and talked about how, this is something we really want to do. It's important to us, and it's progressing really nicely. CCP Ritati is working well with the team, and the game's going to come out, when it's ready and when it's able to meet the expectations of the players. So, this isn't something they're going to rush. This isn't like Dust 514 where they pretty much just hammered it out and just kind of shoved it out the door. They're really trying to avoid that. They want to make sure that what they're putting together is going to be exactly what we want as players and what they feel is appropriate for the scope of the game and that sort of thing. So, keep that in mind. The kind of continued on. He said, hey, we are working on, the project. We've got, it's progressing well, and it's going to be playable, hopefully, sometime this year. And it's going to be soon, and when he says soon, he means months and not years. So, if my rough speculation, EVE Vegas is in 6 months, right? And it seems like since they are not doing a Iceland Fan Fest next year, and they're going to start doing these smaller events kind of around the world, EVE Vegas is going to be much more of a big deal now. So my guess is if things are progressing well, and they're going to get things ready for closed beta, closed alpha testing, something like that, Vegas is probably the time that I would kind of suspect it to be coming out, but again, there's nothing to indicate that specifically. That's just purely me kind of, talking out my ass. So take that with a grain of salt. But he then continues on to kind of talk about the backstory of what's going on with this game. And it's kind of cryptic. It's kind of the scripted thing that he went through. But it shows on the screen the exterior of some kind of ship, and it's this, looks like a map, like it's kind of what you would expect an FPS map to look like, and it's got a giant Sancha ship floating over the map, and it's dark and it's ominous and there's fog everywhere. The crowd went wild. They loved this. It was really cool looking. I'm not sure what it means. It's probably worth kind of looking at the image. We've got a post going up probably real soon after this video gets recorded on the Biomassed blog, kind of showing all of the screenshots that you will want to take a look at, but this is a really cool one. The crowd really liked it. It was a good thing. And then he kind of talks about what is the timeline in the story, right? So it goes all the way from Templar 1 up through Dust 514, and then at the 2016 mark, and it's got the in-game year, I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head, there's a 2-year period where it just says Exile, and then after that it's called the Rise of the War Clone is kind of what it's listed as there. So what he described is effectively the War Clones, the age of the Warlords, when we were playing Dust Warlords, the second expansion there, it just suddenly stopped, and that a lot of them were killed, some went into hiding, and some went for refuge in a place called Avalon. Didn't explain what that is, but he did talk about Avalon, so that's kind of interesting. But it does kind of imply that the end of Dust is canon in this story, and that, this sudden shut-off wherever, whatever happened, it all stopped, and there was a period of time where the clones were not doing anything. They were in exile. And then it goes to 2018, so this year, that's the year they're planning on having this game come out, and it talks about them returning from exile. So it doesn't exactly explain why it's coming from exile, but it does imply that what happened with the shutdown of Dust is actually part of this ongoing story leading up into Project Nova, which is really, really cool. If you've played Final Fantasy XIV, they did a similar thing where they had the first version 1 of the game, and it was terrible. They shut it down and then started up a reboot of it called A Realm Reborn. And they actually made the end of the first game canon by basically destroying everything in something called the Calamity, which kind of allowed them this hard reset for the world, let them kind of do some new things. This seems very similar to that, and I think that's absolutely awesome, because it makes people who were Dust players feel like, even though what I did is done, you know, my assets and my ISK are probably gone forever, my contributions leading up to that point still had meaning. And I think that's really cool that you kept going and there was a cutoff, there was an end of the game, but that's just part of the story, in that you'll have a chance to come back, which is really, really cool. So I was really hyped for that. And so that's kind of the backstory, at least what he gave us. I would check out some of the photos that we're going to have on the blog. That timeline's really interesting, and I think that it's definitely worth taking a look at to see, you know, I quoted a few things directly from him to kind of see the wording and what he used. This is going to be really fun, I think, for people to kind of speculate and try to break down and figure out what they're getting at. You can tell that they didn't say much, but what they were showing you was very information dense, and I think that, you know, as a community, we can kind of come together and kind of piece this together and try to figure out what's going on, which is pretty cool. I really do like what they're doing here. So that was kind of what they talked about. Like I said, it's going to come out hopefully sometime this year. It's going to be months, not years, so it should be, you know, I would assume in the next 6 to 9 months, hopefully. And the biggest news, however, is that you can sign up for a newsletter. So if you go to ccpgames.com/projectnova, you can sign up and enter in your email and start getting information sent to you directly. We actually spoke to CCP Rattati on Discord just a little bit ago, and he said that, you know, hey, if we need people for alpha testing, we'll probably go from that email list first. So if you want to be involved in the alpha, the best first step is to go to that website and get yourself signed up. So, you know, definitely do that. Hilmar kind of encouraged people to do that because, you know, hey, that allows them to kind of gauge the number of people who are interested, what kind of people are interested, and helps them kind of, you know, calibrate how things are going to be pushed out and that sort of thing. So it's a big deal. Make sure you go do it right away. And, you know, I'm stoked. So, you know, like I said, let's come together, let's speculate, let's try to figure some cool stuff out, and I think it should be, you know, a lot of fun. So that's what I've got for today. Tomorrow we've got a lot of EVE stuff going on, but the big one's going to be the pub crawl at night. So basically, different developers will take a group of players with them, and we'll go around to different pubs around the Iceland, Reykjavik area. I am in CCP Rattati's group, so I will be going around with him tomorrow night, getting lots of beer. I know that Darth Carbonite, Denny Fleetfoot, Aeon Amati, and several others are in that group as well, so it should be a good discussion. I'm looking forward to kind of picking up Rattati's brain and seeing what we can get out of him, so it should be pretty fun. But that'll be tomorrow, so I'll check in probably after that. I might be a little tipsy, but we'll see how I do.
I'll be a good videographer for that.
Livvy's going to help out and make sure that I actually make it back to the hotel, and I may be a little, you know, when we record the film, but, you know, we'll get something to you for sure at the very least, and let you know how it goes, and, you know, we'll maybe write up my thoughts the next day in a more coherent manner, but it'll be good stuff. So, good news, more than I expected, lots of stuff to pick apart. Get signed up for the website, and it should be good. So, see you tomorrow.